Well, it's 12:01, so I guess we'll go ahead and get started. It looks like we have about 25 on. That's not too bad. So welcome everybody to October 1st, Newport Rotary Club noon meeting. This is our 24th Zoom meeting, and hopefully now that we're in phase 2, hopefully we don't have another 24 in front before we can start some hybrid meetings anyway. But it's been a nice option, and I'm sure we'll continue the Zoom option for those who can't get away from the office or would prefer to watch at home. Would anyone like to lead us in the pledge? Looks like most people are muted, so Richard, you're not muted. Would you do us the honor?
Love to.
Thanks, Richard.
Anybody have a flag sitting up there anywhere?
Oh, I can switch it.
There we go. Diane's prepared.
Oh, there you go. Dueling flags. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thanks, Richard. Boy, we're getting better and more in sync at this. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but it's progress. So anybody have any guests? I guess it's a little hard to see unless I scroll through the list, but it looks like all Rotarians here.
Amy's got her hand up.
What was that?
I've got a guest. This is Amy. This is my sister-in-law, Mary Latimer, and she's, are you still part of the Bend Club?
No, I'm in the Fidalgo Island.
Fidalgo Island, Anacortes, Washington Club.
All right, visiting Rotarian.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Let's see, anybody have any announcements or a Rotary moment they'd like to share?
I've got a quick announcement, Freddie.
Okay.
Chamber of Commerce, the golf tournaments Saturday, they do have one opening or a room for one last foursome. So if that's interesting to you, if you have time and want to put a group together Saturday out at Agate Beach Golf Course. So it'll be a lot of fun.
That sounds like fun. I'm signed up, but I haven't golfed in at least 2 years, so that should be exciting. I'm not sure anyone on my team has either, so it should be a real hoot.
Lots of mulligans.
Yeah.
I do have an announcement. So I'm vice president of the Newport High School Booster Club, and we have decided to put on a virtual annual banquet, and that will be October 23rd at 6 p.m. So it's going to premiere there then, but will be pre-recorded ahead of time. So we'll be putting that link out on social media, or if you would like for me to send it to you, I'm happy to do that. And we're also having a raffle as part of that. There's 5 raffle items, and you can get tickets at Roby's Furniture or contact a booster member, and they're 3 for $25.
That sounds like fun too. Thanks, Amy. Any other announcements?
Freddie, it's Laura.
Hi, Laura.
We're having the Newport Public Library is having a Noche de Cuentos event on our Facebook Live page, as well as our Newport Public Library YouTube channel, celebrating storytelling and being together with Alex Yumakinga. And it's going to take place on October 11th at 3 p.m. And it's free, and it's going to be online if you guys are interested in attending.
Well, thanks, Laura. Is the library open back up now with phase 2 protocol in place?
Not yet. We're looking at October 19th, and it would be open for computer reservation only, but I'm sure Spencer's going to talk about that today.
Nice. Dee, did you have an announcement?
No, I was just kind of clapping for Alex Yumakinga to do that with the library. Alex works with our outreach program, and so I was just clapping for Laura's announcement.
All right, well, thanks, Dee. I don't see our Sergeant of Arms on here. Does anybody have any happy bucks? Or birthdays, anniversaries, anything like that to announce? Or we can.
I'll do a happy dollar.
Okay.
Yes, my number 3 grandson yesterday had his first high school football game, and he's the quarterback. And they had relatively good game, 63-0. So I think that's probably, I won't give $63, but I'll give $5 for my grandson's, or our grandson Spencer's first football game down in Arizona.
All right. Thanks, Keith. Sounds like Arizona school sports are back in with a handful of states.
Rob is not here yet. He's coming from an appointment, but it was his birthday yesterday. So when he gets back on here, you might want to remember that.
That sounds good. Thanks, Amy. Any other happy bucks or announcements before we move on? Jim.
I want to be $19 happy. Some of you may know, and many of you may not, that last Friday was my last day with the 2020 US Census, so I can't be $20 happy anymore. But I'm $19 happy because that same day I went over to Hatfield Marine Science Center and started working with the OSU TRACE program. And Monday we started working, taking COVID test samples from Hatfield and NOAA staff and faculty and students. Were doing the COVID prevalence testing at Hatfield for the Hatfield community. And so far, so good. It's really fun. It's a great group of people to work with, and it's a great group of people to meet. Just getting to run into the Hatfield people coming through and asking them, what are you doing? What problem are you solving? Is really eye-opening and enlightening. So I'm $19 happy. I'm involved in the COVID-19 OSU TRACE project out at Hatfield Marine Science Center.
Thanks, Jim. So does that involve testing the personnel over there?
It does. We're throwing the test kit under our plexiglass spit shield. We're all picking up the manual dexterity to get a little plastic bag full of test kit to slide along an 8-foot table. And it's interesting. It's fun.
Well, hopefully the results all come back good on that one.
I hope so too.
Anybody else? So I've got a few things that I found for today in history. Some weeks are harder than others. This one happened to be, there was definitely a lot of things that happened today going back in history. So this was an easy week. 1908, Ford Motors introduced the Model T, otherwise known as the Tin Lizzie. The car cost $850 when it was first released, but it dropped below $300 by 1924 when manufacturing costs became streamlined. The Model T was discontinued in 1927 after more than 15 million had been produced, and the only color option was black. Today in 1962, Johnny Carson succeeded Jack Parr as a regular host of NBC's Tonight Show. Carson received an on-air introduction from Groucho Marx, and the guests on his debut program were Joan Crawford, Rudy Valley, Tony Bennett, Mel Brooks, and the Phoenix Singers. And then this is my favorite. In 2009, the 19th annual Ig Nobel Prizes were awarded at Harvard University. The physics prize went to a study of why pregnant women don't tip over. The chemistry prize was awarded to scientists who turned tequila into diamonds. The veterinary medicine prize was given for finding that cows that have names make more milk than those who remain anonymous. And the medicine prize went to a physician who for 50 years cracked the knuckles on only his left hand to test his mother's contention that knuckle cracking causes arthritis. So I wasn't aware that Harvard had those Ig Nobel prizes, but kind of a interesting awards that they have every year, apparently. So today we've got a great program from one of our own members, Spencer Nebel. And Spencer took the helm as city manager back in December of 2013. So he's been with us a while now. Prior to this post, he was city manager for the town of Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan for 21 years and served in the same capacity for 2 other Michigan towns for a total of 10 years before that. Spencer has a master's degree in public administration from Northern Michigan University. He's an International City County Management Association credentialed manager and received multiple Excellence in Service Awards from the Michigan Municipal League. Spencer and his wife had vacationed in Oregon before making the move, and he has 2 sisters here in Oregon. His successful leadership in a town not dissimilar from Newport, which was a port town with a large tourist economy, has translated into equally successful leadership here in Newport. So with that, I will turn it over to Spencer for today's program.
Well, thank you very much. Are you hearing me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to be able to provide an update to Rotary. It's been a little while since I've done this, and fortunately I did show up 2 weeks ago for a Zoom meeting, so I'm trying to get in better graces with my attendance at Rotary. So hopefully you'll be seeing me a little more. But boy, what a year it's been this year. 2020 for all of us has been a year that we will soon forget. And the good news is we're only 3 months away from 2021. So who knows what's going to happen between now and December 31st, but it's just been hard to believe the circumstances that we've dealt with. In March, we started dealing with the COVID issue, and that certainly grew as a national and international pandemic, and it's impacted all of us. It certainly has impacted the operations of the city. Throw in a water crisis emergency where we had to discontinue water for our fishing processors and Rogue Beer and others for a period of 4 or 5 days because of some unknown reasons. Our membrane filters are getting clogged, and so we had that emergency. And then we get to Labor Day, thinking that we're kind of through things, and we have these horrible wildfires that destroyed over 300 homes in North Lincoln County, created smoke that certainly the people I've talked to that have lived in Newport all their lives have never experienced before. And from a city standpoint, fortunately, we were in a position to provide support instead of being directly impacted by those fires. But so anyway, we'll see what's left to 2020 here, and hopefully, things will calm down at some point. I want to start talking a little bit about the impact of COVID on the city. And when we were putting together the budget with the city council and the budget committee, we were originally, we had these wonderful plans, in January and February, our goals were set. We knew exactly what we're going to do. And that dramatically changed with the world events that occurred following that period of time. But with our budget for the city, one of the things that we were trying to address, we had identified that if our revenues continued growing at the rate they were growing, and if our expenditures continued growing at the rate they had been growing, in about 3 years out, we would be certainly in a challenging fiscal condition. And so one of the things, again, before COVID that we needed to address was really trying to right-size our organization and our budget to fit within the funds that we had available to operate the city. COVID comes on the scene, and that dramatically changed a number of things, including reductions in our projections for a number of our revenues that were based on business such as the room tax, which is an important source of funds for the city, other funds that are impacted by the economy. And so now we were looking at dealing with kind of a structural deficit, which was a longer term issue. And now we had to deal with an immediate issue. So the city council and the budget committee made some difficult decisions for this budget year. We eliminated 22 FTEs from the budget effective July 1 in the new budget. On top of that, to deal with the COVID issues, we had to lay off our part-time staff in facilities like the library and Parks and Recreation. We had a service reduction because of these eliminated positions. And then for all our non-union employees, we had a lot of discussions internally, and our employees were wanted to retain as many jobs as we could during this time. And basically there was general agreement from the employees to do a furlough. So we implemented a furlough program that impacted all our non-union employees, where 2 weeks of unpaid time had to be taken during the course of this calendar year, which also impacted our ability to deal with normal issues during COVID. A lot of our facilities, we had to close a number of facilities, our library, our aquatic center, our Parks and Rec, in order to meet the guidelines for the COVID health concerns. City Hall has been closed to the public except by appointment only. Our council meetings and our board and committee meetings have all been done virtually. So those are a number of the changes where there was a lot of innovation, and we've all gone through this, but we've all done probably more innovation in the past 6 months just to deal with the COVID issues going forward. We're real pleased that we are in Lincoln County now in phase 2. And for the city, that's going to mean some changes in the way that we've dealt with our facilities. For example, City Hall will be open again from 8 a.m. till 2 p.m. Again, City Hall will be open for business purposes only, and it'll be open Monday through Thursday during that time frame. Will be available other times by appointment, so if people need to come in at a different time than those open hours, they can call and make an appointment. But we will be monitoring the door, and the only entrance that will be open will be the front door. Again, we'll be taking temperatures. We'll be making sure everyone coming into the building is free of symptoms related to COVID, but we will again be opening City Hall on a 4-day basis, 8 a.m. till 2 p.m. At the library, as Laura indicated earlier, we're going to be open on a limited basis for computer usage by appointment starting October 19th, and that's going to be the first phase of the reopening of the library. The library's done a great job of providing other opportunities for people to deal with getting reading material and books remotely. That's been a very successful program during these COVID days, but we want to continue moving forward in a way to provide services more as people remember them, and this will be a big first step. The Recreation Center will reopen starting on Tuesday. Again, that's going to be by appointment only. There's going to be blocks of time when people can go in. The building will be cleared, it'll be sanitized, the next block will be able to move in as well. There are limitations on the number of people we can have in the building at one time, and there are procedures that folks will have to use, including wearing masks and other things while they're utilizing the Recreation Center. Likewise, the Aquatic Center will reopen. Now, the Aquatic Center is one area you don't have to wear masks, so we thought we might lose some swimmers if we had masks on them in the water. I didn't think that was a very good idea, but the Aquatic Center will open up on the 6th, again on a limited basis and by appointment only. So if you are interested in going to those facilities, we have additional details coming out yet this week, and then you can always contact either of those facilities to understand how that works. Now, our playgrounds and sports fields are reopened. Organized practices on sports fields will be scheduled with city staff, and those discussions are going on. Also, the Visual Arts Center is scheduled to reopen on October 24th on a limited basis, and so we're certainly in the process of taking advantage of phase 2 to get a number of these facilities more open than they have been under phase 1. The one thing that again, I probably don't need to remind everybody, but the reopening is going to be a little different than the way it was before we closed down for COVID. So understand there's going to be a different set of rules and different things that you're going to have to do, and it's going to be a more scheduled use versus just popping in whenever you wanted to pop in for those facilities. Going forward, this late June and into July, that's when we had a water production crisis in the city. As a result of that water crisis, which fell right during the 4th of July week, we had to work cooperatively with companies like Pacific Seafood and others to restrict their water usage during that time period. The problem that was occurring was with our micro filtration process at the water plant. It's been determined that soluble organic materials were clogging those filters. It's a condition that we've had to some degree in the past, but for whatever reason this year, well, probably because it's 2020, there was an overabundance of that material that blocked the filters enough where it really restricted our ability to create clean, safe drinking water for the community. And throughout this time, there was no problem with the water quality that we were producing. We just couldn't produce enough of the water. And we worked very closely with HDR, which is the engineering firm that designed the plant originally. I also worked with a company called Paul Company, which is a major international producer of filters, where they tested a number of things and developed a number of processes to help us get through this issue. The one thing I really was remarkable was the way our public works crews went to work to develop an alternative water intake from the reservoir to feed temporary filtration plants that were brought in to help supplement the water so that we could produce enough water to get everybody back in business through the course of the summer. That condition has subsided towards the middle of July. The cleaning processes that Paul has created, the filter company, has allowed us to produce a normal amount of water. Again, we think we're through this issue, but there's a number of recommendations that are going to the City Council on Monday to discuss how we can avoid having this sort of situation occur in the future. So again, a lot of people, a lot of inventive ways to really address this issue were exercised, and fortunately we limited the water supply issue to a problem over the course of the week. And we really appreciate Pacific Seafood and Rogue Beer and the other major users, for their cooperation in this effort. The real important issue on these sort of situations is, we obviously caused business disruptions for those businesses, and they're so important to this community, but we really appreciated their cooperative attitude and their willingness to help in any way they could to get through this issue. The third drama and emergency and crisis that we experienced, obviously, was the wildfires following Labor Day. And from a city standpoint, we're very fortunate that Newport was not in a position where the fire started 8 or 7 miles east of us, and those fires blew into Newport. We would have been very much in the same sort of situation that Lincoln City was in, where 2/3 of the city had to be evacuated in order to get people out of harm's way for that fire. The role the city played in this fire was fairly significant, even though it wasn't directly impacting our community. Our fire department and our fire chief specifically were on the lines up in North Lincoln County, dealing with the fighting the fires continually for a number of days in a row until things were under control. Our fire chief, Rob Murphy, was in charge of really identifying resources, both personnel and equipment that could be brought into Lincoln County in order to fight that fire. We were really handicapped because this had been a fire by itself. The state would have a lot of resources to kick in, and unfortunately the state had to say, we have no resources to help you, you're on your own. And so it was really left to the fire departments and public safety agencies in Lincoln County, and we had a number of agencies come in from neighboring counties as well to assist with that effort, but it was not a typical conflagration in which the state moves in resources to help because they had no way to deal with that. In addition, our police department provided police coverage for Lincoln City and North Lincoln County. They assisted in things such as evacuation, security, and other items there. So we had police presence in North Lincoln County throughout this fire from Newport. And then the other area that we were heavily involved with this was providing evacuation center with our 60+ center and our parks and recreation facility, in which we housed over 220 evacuees there in conjunction with the Red Cross in that facility. That facility had been closed since March. Our parks crews, which are limited because we've laid off all our part-time employees, got that place turned into an evacuation center in 2.5 hours. And literally they were rolling in hospital beds, they were rolling in cots. They housed people from assisted living facilities in there. It was really great to see that we could get that facility going so quickly. And we appreciate working with the Red Cross. That was totally strapped as well, because they had, again, they were dealing with these emergencies across the entire state. We had one Red Cross person here that was working with us to get things going in the rec center. But they quickly got volunteers and they quickly got others on the scene in order to run that operation out of our rec center for the North Lincoln County until they could move that back up to Lincoln County, which occurred on the Sunday following the fires. After then, our Parks and Rec director, I had to call him Sunday saying that he thought he was all through with hosting folks at the rec center, and we got a call from the National Guard saying they needed housing. And the National Guard ended up taking the next week, and they used that as housing for their personnel that were dealing with security and other issues up in the fire scene. So the three emergencies have kept us very occupied through the course of the year, but there's been a lot of other things going on in the community as well. And I wanted to touch on those. Just kind of a brief update, and a lot of us have seen these projects going on, but very pleased that Samaritan Pacific Communities Hospital has completed their project, and boy, what a difference that has made to the community. In conjunction with a public-private partnership with Samaritan and the city, we were able to redo sidewalks and roads all around the hospital area, and that area certainly has been renewed in a significant way. Surfview Apartments is a project that we worked very closely on, provided tax abatement, provided a number of other incentives in order to make that project a reality here in the community. And the 110 units are most of the buildings are open. I think they're down to one last building to get open. And again, that's going to provide important housing for our community going forward. The Windhaven Ridge Apartments, and that's off of 31st and Harney. Again, that's going to be a 66-unit construction project. They're doing foundations on that project, and this is right off of just to the north of the Big Creek Dams, off of Harney Street. And it's the area that's been cleared for years for a development that never occurred, and this is a process of seeing that project go forward, but that work is now underway. We had, again, been working closely with OSU on the student housing project that's going up by Wilder, and it's anticipated that construction will be starting in the spring on that particular project. As we know, the OSU Marine Studies Initiative building is now occupied. Again, a major project that's just recently been completed. On the bayfront, the new seafood wharf that is under construction to provide additional options for the sale and handling of fish that are caught and brought into the community. Ripley's, again, 2 weeks ago, we had a presentation on that project and substantial investment in that facility, and it really looks great. And it was too bad that place had to stay closed for so long, but I'm glad that they are open on a limited basis now. Earlier, I think Rotary had a presentation from Derek Tokos on the Northside Transportation System Plan update. That project is had to be delayed because of COVID, because there's a lot of involvement that's needed from the community in that planning process. This is a really critical project because it's going to really define how transportation systems are dealt with primarily from the bridge north. And I really encourage folks to pay attention to that. We're going to be using a virtual town meetings and virtual planning processes for this effort, and these are going to be starting in November. And we'll be getting notices out on how you can participate in that project, but it's going to be very important for defining the community in the future. Another major project that is out there is related to the Highway 101 in South Beach. This is a project that's been under various planning design efforts by ODOT in conjunction with the city. The city is participating with a substantial commitment of urban renewal funds for that project, and that project is slated to be bid in November with construction starting this winter. And that's going to be a very major remake with sidewalks on both sides of the street, street lighting, complete street resurfacing, elimination of the ferry slip intersection, and creation of a new intersection at 35th, connecting in the OMSI facility with the rest of the community. It's been a big project, and we're very anxious to see ODOT ultimately get that bid. The other the thing, City Council dedicated on Monday 3 projects that were fairly significant projects. One was the resurfacing of quite a few of our streets in the community. I talked a little bit about the streets around the hospital, but we did about I think 25 blocks of road resurfacing in various areas, including City Center, and it really, we picked up a number of streets that were in pretty rough shape with that project. Second project that was dedicated was the Quinta Heights water main project. Most people probably remember this project by being aggravated by the 3rd and Harney intersection being under construction forever. That was a major, there's a lot of stuff underground there, a major project, but it completely reconfigured the way water is delivered from our storage tanks to the bayfront and other areas, and it's again another major project that was completed just this summer. The third project that got completed this summer, that's a major project, is the construction of 2 new lift stations and force main in Agate Beach area. The city was under orders from the DEQ to eliminate overflows that would regularly occur during heavy flow conditions of that system. The new system was built. The total cost of that project was about $9 million, and that is operational, and we have not had an overflow since that facility has been operational. So we'll see how we do as we fare into the wet weather, but we're feeling pretty confident about the impact that that will have on the community. Just one last thing. One of the, I think, real innovations that we were able to do this year was to free up some urban renewal interest earnings that had been occurring in South Beach. And we were able to inject $900,000 into our business community through a series of small business grants. These grants were applied for and allocated out. This was truly a cooperative project. We work closely with our other taxing jurisdictions that contribute into the Urban Renewal District, and I appreciate the great cooperation from the county and the school district and the port and the other, the health district and the other taxing entities that all participated as part of a review committee to determine how these funds should be reallocated to our business community. There is one pool of funds that's still available, and that's there's several $100,000 that's still available for business assistance through communitylendingworks.org. And again, these are businesses located either in the city of Newport or in the county. The city of Newport, city of Yachats, and Lincoln County all contributed funds to make these low interest loans work. The first round had restrictions on it that if you had received federal assistance, you were not eligible for this funding. The second round does not have those restrictions. So if you applied the first time and you were rejected because you had other federal assistance, and if you need business assistance, again, the address is communitylendingworks.org, and please take advantage of those cities. The city contributed $100,000 into that fund to help with these important efforts of keeping our small business community healthy and vital. So that's a quick overview of the various disasters of 2020 and some of the successes we've had. I'd be glad to answer any questions that people have.
Looks like Jeff has a question. Go ahead, Jeff. Looks like you're muted though. There you go.
There you go. Spencer, thanks for that. With respect to the water system filtration problem, were they ever able to really determine what was causing that?
We know that it was soluble organics in the raw water coming into the plant, which is a normally present, but for whatever reason they were present in a lot more substantial quantity or percentage of the organics that were in that form. What we don't know is why that occurred this year. And so what our efforts are really focused towards is how can we handle that high load of soluble organics coming into the plant going forward in future years. There's a number of recommendations that will be going to the council to make sure that we have the capabilities of processing water under those same circumstances. So it appears to be a natural occurrence that resulted in the conditions being ripe for a high level of insoluble or of soluble organics in our water system. The one thing that we since the plant has been built, we always monitor the amount of organics in the raw water coming into the plant. Now, one of our new procedures is we're now looking at monitoring the total organics as well as the soluble organics to better track what happens with that going up and down. So that you know, we wish we knew exactly why that happened this year, but it didn't. One of the things too is we thought originally that the filters in that plant are now 8 years old. They have about a 10-year lifespan. We were wondering, you know, were they aging quicker than they were? The conclusion has been that the filters are still functioning fine. It wasn't a filter failure. It was a heavier load of organics coming in the groundwater or in the raw waters that we treat for drinking water.
I've got a question just to help me understand. If I think of organics, I think of things like algae or something like that. I don't know whether that's accurate or not, but in terms of, but I don't know if algae is soluble, or you know, what is an organic that isn't, and what is one that is, I guess.
Yeah, and I don't have a biochemistry degree, so I'm not sure I can help you a whole lot on that. But anything that, even algae is a solid organic. It's not
not soluble.
Right. So anything that has structure to it is different from what was plugging up the filters. And the irony of it is the quality of the water, visually looking at it this year was really good. Some years we've had algae blooms in the reservoirs. There was no evidence of any major algae blooms of that nature during the course of the summer. So, yeah, go ahead.
No, I don't have any more questions. Thanks. It is a confusing issue definitely, isn't it?
It is, and I don't know if we'll ever have an answer about why it spiked in June of this year. But the conditions have since gone back down to normal, and you know, and it's you know, there's a number of things that were a little different. One of the things that we've been trying to do is keep our reservoirs full from the Siletz River early in the year, and then stop using water later in the year when the Siletz flows are down, just to help with the amount of water that's left in the Siletz River. We've been doing that the last 2 years, and that's a change in practice. And whether or not there was some combination of things that occurred because we were pumping water earlier in the year from the Siletz when we had these issues is you know, it's only a theory, or it's not even a theory at this point, but it's one thing that was different than what we've done in past years. And whether that contributed to this issue or not, we honestly don't know.
Thank you.
Question?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Just wondering what is being discussed or planned for emergency planning, especially tsunami planning around the city.
Yeah, we have been doing a number of things with tsunami planning in the city. Most recently, the city council enacted a tsunami overlay zone, which establishes certain limitations on types of development that can occur in tsunami areas of the city. This was to kind of mirror provisions that were in place by the state of Oregon that were removed. And we've implemented basically something similar to what was in place on a local level to prevent critical infrastructure from being built in tsunami areas like schools, fire stations, hospitals, and those sorts of things. Fortunately for Newport, our tsunami areas are relatively confined compared to cities like Seaside and other areas where the majority of the cities in the tsunami zones. From an emergency planning standpoint, we participated in a number of efforts to determine the time it takes for people to get out of certain neighborhoods that are in the tsunami zone. We're using that data to help improve our evacuation sites. We've basically have been trying to improve our signage. Within the last couple of years, we did the tsunami markings on the roads to show where the areas are that people have to get to in the event of an earthquake and a potential tsunami. We have a lot of work to do yet, but we are certainly have made progress in the last couple of years. Now, one unfortunate thing that's happened is during our budget cuts, our emergency services coordinator left her position. We have not funded that for the balance of this year. That's something that we'll be looking at going forward, because we know it's an area that we have a lot more work to do in. But we've made some progress, but we're at the beginning of that process rather than at the end of that process.
Spencer, I have a question. I have a comment and a question, I guess. My first comment is the Red Cross person that came in and spearheaded the effort for the Red Cross here is Michelle Hamrick. She happens to be the supervisor of all our disaster action teams in the Cascades region. So she's above a level above much most people would be coming into our community and respond. So the resources they were able to muster and things they were able to do were largely attributable to Michelle's talents. So Michelle Hamrick is the individual. The second question I have for you is just a curiosity question, that the National Guard has a nice armory here in town. How did it happen they decided to use the rec center as opposed to their own armory for to house their people?
Because of COVID spacing, they didn't have enough room to house everybody in their facility. And so they spread people out between the rec center and their facility.
Any other questions for Spencer?
Thank you.
All right, well, thanks, Spencer. Boy, if you can manage a city in 2020, I think you'll have an easy path in 2021, hopefully anyway.
We certainly hope so. And I can tell you my almost 40 years of city management, 2020 goes down in the books as the most interesting. So
I was going to say, I would guess so. Well, thanks for all the great information and thanks for the program today and for speaking. And as you know, we're going to vaccinate 50 children against polio in your name as a thanks for speaking to us today. So thanks, Spencer.
well, thank you.
And speaking of 50, I see that Rob is with us now, Rob T. Happy belated birthday. I know it isn't the 50th birthday because I have Facebook, so you've got a little ways to go, but happy birthday. We should probably sing, but that's tough to do on Zoom with much synchronicity. So
thank you, Freddie, and thank you for not singing. I really appreciate it.
All right. So Keith, you have info on attendance for us.
Yes. Today we have 34 members and 1 guest, so we right at 60% for our membership. And the member incentive, I spun the wheel, and Jeff Ouderkirk is the $5 winner today. And the 50-50, we have $60 total. And I spun the wheel, and Jim Walker is the winner of the $30 50-50 drawing today.
All right, congratulations, Jim. And let's see, how about our social media award?
Myself here. Okay. I just want to remind people before I give out the social media award that just so you know, we are recording this meeting, and then on Friday or Saturday it's available to everybody. So what I do is I record the whole meeting. Then I take out the program. So if you just wanted to watch, like last week we had the Students of the Month, we had Jillian and Ben on there. You can just watch the program too. So that's usually going to be on Saturday. It takes me about 3 hours to edit those down, so it takes me some time. But anyway, those are available. Usually by Saturday, you can rewatch the meeting or the program. And without further ado, today's winner is Sonia Graham.
All right. Thanks, John, and thanks for the hard work in cataloging and putting these on YouTube. Let's see, I think Julie had a comment about Levi's new haircut, but he took his video off.
He must have read my comment. But Freddie, I just wanted to let everyone know.
Oh, no, I was serving ice cream.
There he is.
What'd you do? You
No,
went
I was just
hunting.
feeding the kids jelly beans. Yeah. My wife said I needed a beard to make up for my baldness. She's taken after you. And she said, Mark looks so good, I had to follow suit.
Yeah. It's good to see you on here. I just wanted to remind everyone, in case you don't know, it is Noemi's birthday today. So if she is your Facebook friend, reach out to her and tell her happy birthday.
That's a good point. Thanks, Julie. All right, so any last minute announcements? No? So next week we have another great program from one of our own Rotarians here, Jeff Lichtman. Be the Life and Times will be the program. So hope everyone can join us next week. We've had some good attendance. Hopefully we can keep that up. And let's see, 4-way test. Anyone want to take us out with the 5-way test, that is?
Claire will.
Okay, thanks, Claire.
Okay. Of all the things that we say and do in Rotary, first, is it the truth?
Truth.
Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build
goodwill and better friendships?
Better friendships. Fourth, will it be beneficial,
to all concerned?
And for our club especially, is it fun?
All right, nicely done. Thank you very much, Claire, and look forward to seeing everyone next week. Hope you all have a great week, and good to see everybody.